A Star Wars property that tries something new and different and doesn't alienate 50% of the fan base? Oh my god, you've cracked the code, Disney. Being a massive fan of both Sergio Leone's $3 trilogy and Star Wars, I was absolutely delighted to hear that this show would be a western in space. But I've been lied to before. So when The Mandalorian entered this bar and we get this score reminiscent of Ennio Morricone's score from Two Mules for Sister Sarah, I was absolutely delighted, and all I could think was, thank you, Jon Favreau. Thank you. The opening sequence is basically just in place to set up The Mandalorian as a badass, and it reminded me of Eastwood's iconic Get Me 3 Coffins Ready sequence from A Fistful of Dollars, where he also dispatches his enemies with incredible ease. We were teased with this door sequence in the trailer again and again, and here seeing it in its full form, I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't more gory. I guess Disney wants to keep this shit PG, but I hope season 2 is hard RA. Even without the high impact violence, the tone is still everything I wanted, and the composer, whose first name is Ludwig, like Ludwig van Beethoven, kinda big shoes to fill, eh? Anyway, he does an amazing job of enhancing this world with his brilliant Western-inspired scores, which is incredibly reminiscent of Ennio Morricone. I love the janky look of the Mandalorian's ship, the Razor Crest. The aesthetics are very original trilogy. The weapon that the Mandalorian uses here is the same weapon that Boba Fett used in his first appearance in the Star Wars Christmas special. I like this little nod to Boba Fett here. It doesn't get cringy or fan servicey. It's only there for really hardcore fans to notice, and it works well. This walrus sequence where it attacks the Razor Crest was actually played for suspense and tension. It wasn't silly like I feel like it would have been in a lot of other shows. They're actually trying to create an epic scene with high tension, and the music becomes all modern and synth driven here. It's not just Western cliches. It can be dark and gritty and synthy and drivey and filled with tension. So I love the fact that the show has humor in it so far, but it's also taking itself seriously and trying to show us tension-filled sequences that are well executed, in my opinion. I mentioned the Christmas special again. This means that it's canon.
Yeah, I was hoping to be free for Life Day.
They show a toilet in Star Wars? Nah, I'm out. They've offended my strong Christian ideology.
Thanks. It might take a while. I'm molting.
The carbonite equipment in Empire took up an entire room. The facility was massive, and here it's sleek enough to fit within a small ship. A few years have passed, so I guess the technology has advanced a fair bit. So I'll give them a free pass here. I'll give them a free pass. I love the desperate nature of the Mandalorian's lifestyle. He's barely scraping through, hunting these bounties. This makes his character so much more relatable, eh?
What's your highest bounty?
Not much. 5,000?
That won't even cover fuel these days.
This shot looks fucking beautiful, eh? This show's production value doesn't look quite as good as the feature films. It probably looks about 20% cheaper, but I mean, I watched Star Trek the original series and Classic Who, so it still looks beautiful and thriving and alive and just rich and lived in. But I do hope when this show inevitably thrives that Disney throws way more money into season 2. Also hope that we get more than 8 episodes and the episodes go for an hour rather than 40 something minutes. But either way, I'm not ragging on the production value. It's still immense and beautiful, and the design and the practical effects are all beautiful. But from the trailer, it looked like it was going to look like the feature films. It's not quite there. It's not quite there. Werner Herzog's voice is incredibly immersive, eh? He's also a brilliant director. I forget what the movie's called, I'll ding it up here. It's fucking great. He stole all these monkeys and stole the camera to film it, and there's all these rapid shots that are fucking incredible. They actually went out into the Amazon and filmed this stuff for real. Anyway, this is a great casting choice. This role demands intensity, and Herzog definitely brings that to the table.
He also said you were expensive. Very expensive. Please sit.
If you've already watched this episode, which you will have because you're watching this review, and you go back and you rewatch the scene where the client is talking to the Mandalorian about the bounty and whether he can bring it back dead or alive, it brings up all these questions. Why does he want this child? And why is he willing to let it die? It obviously serves some danger towards them. I guess it's highly force sensitive and it could destroy the remnants of the Empire. Maybe?
Proof of termination is also acceptable for a lower fee.
That is not what we agreed upon.
Not having watched either the Clone Wars or Rebels, I know little to nothing about the race of the Mandalorians, eh? Even though I am a hardcore Star Wars fan, I just never got into those CGI cartoons. But I'm still super interested in this race. They're very interesting from the little that I know of them. And this blacksmith/prophet character is one of those interesting parts. They hold armor in such a high regard in the culture. Why? I guess because they're war-driven like Vikings? Either way, I look forward to learning more about this new aspect of Star Wars that I've only just dipped my toe into.
Has your signet been revealed?
Not yet.
Soon.
Dave Filoni did a really good job of directing this episode, especially in the flashback/forging sequences. And considering that this was his directorial debut, I mean, kudos to the guy. Great effort. The Mandalorian's backstory of his parents being slaughtered by droids and then being taken into the Mandalorians as a youth is cliched, but I feel like they will expand on it and make it more interesting, and it is very Western. Nick Nolte as this grumpy Ugnaught is amazing, eh? They didn't spare any money when it came to the casting for this show. It's A-list all the way through.
I don't know how to ride Blurg.
I have spoken.
The cowboy breaking in a horse sequence is a classic Western trope and reminded me of Eastwood in Unforgiven in all the right ways. They could have used a speeder to pass through these lands. That Ugnaught was just fucking with you, Mr. Mandalorian. After Ragnarok, Taika Waititi became the #1 person you want to attach to any sci-fi property. And they got him for this. He's great. His humor is very subtle, unlike most of his other roles. And he directed episode 8, so I can't wait to see what he does.
I will initiate self-destruct sequencing.
Whoa, you're what?
I like how the Mandalorian immediately wants to team up with IG-11. We avoid the I work alone trope with amazing effect here.
I have a suggestion.
Proceed.
We split the reward.
This is acceptable.
This action sequence is filmed really well. The geography of it is all laid out so you know exactly where everybody is and what is happening. The music creates ample tension and it's all cut together in a really nice pace and flow. So well done, chaps, well done. Hope we see more of the Mando and IG-11. Their chemistry was really great together and their teamwork just worked. I can see them going on many, many adventures in the future. I mean, I hope he's not dead here. He's a droid. They can survive being shot in the head, right? He'll come back with a vengeance to get the Mando or something, and they'll team up together and go on many adventures. Hopefully, anyway. Also, they got to take advantage of Taika. Taika? Got to take advantage of Taika Waititi. Oh my god! The ending made this episode turn from a solid episode into an amazing episode. The Baby Yoda just brought up all these questions that I immediately wanted answered right then, as soon as I finished the episode. All I wanted to do with my life after that point was to see what happened next. I hope it's like a lone wolf and cub relationship. Please be like a lone wolf and cub relationship set as a space western in the Star Wars universe. Doesn't get any better than this, folks. Doesn't get any better than this. In conclusion, this episode was good up until IG-11 came in and then the Baby Yoda at the end, and then it became amazing. I have been disappointed by some of Disney Star Wars moves in the past, but Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, you guys did it. You pulled it off. This is great. I'm so on board. This is amazing. All I want to do is absorb your content. Just give me more of this. Give me more of this. Please, give me more of this. Alright, thank you for watching. I'd really help out if you guys could like, subscribe, and in the comments, tell me how I shouldn't have drunken a beer while I did this review, because it made me slur my words and lessened my intellect. Thank you, and good night.